Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we really try to cut through all the noise and get to what matters on important topics. And today, we're tackling something huge in aging health, finding effective ways, non-drug ways, to fight cognitive decline. We're focusing specifically on mild cognitive impairment, MCI, and early-stage dementia. The scale of this is, well, it's staggering. Dementia could hit 139 million people worldwide by 2050. That's up from 55 million just back in 2020. And MCI. That's the really critical phase, that sort of bridge between normal aging and dementia. The stats are pretty stark, but up to 80% of people with MCI develop dementia within 6 years. So finding ways to intervene early, it's just crucial.
Absolutely crucial. And that's why we've gathered, well, a pile of research today. We're looking at systematic reviews, meta-analyses, even specific randomized controlled trials. All of them are investigating the same potential tool, Tai Chi Chuan, the traditional Chinese mind-body exercise. Our mission, really, for you listening, is to pull together what these studies actually tell us. What do we know for sure about Tai Chi's effect on delaying decline? We're looking at the brain stuff, the neurocognitive side, yes, but also physical effects, psychological ones, and importantly, trying to understand the science, like how might this ancient practice actually be working in the brain.
Okay, right. Let's unpack Tai Chi itself first, because I think a lot of people picture maybe just gentle stretching, but the research makes it clear it's actually a pretty complex thing. A multi-component intervention, they call it. It's low to moderate intensity, so it's generally safe for older adults. But it's combining the physical movements with real cognitive effort. You need concentration, attention, you have to remember sequences, be mindful. Plus, there's often a social piece if you're doing it in a group.
Exactly. That mix the physical and the mental complexity that's really central. But it's also why studying it gets, well, messy. Tai Chi isn't like taking a standard pill, right? It's a practice. And there are different styles, the 5 main traditional ones: Chen, Yang, Wu, Hao, Sun. They vary quite a bit. Some styles emphasize, slower, constant knee bending like Yang style, while others, like Chen, might have more vigorous, faster movements.
And that variety, that must be a nightmare for researchers trying to compare results.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge methodological challenge. If one study uses, say, a fast Chen style and another uses a slow, simplified 24-form Yang style, are they even studying the same intervention? Probably not.
So for the findings to mean anything, the researchers really have to spell it out.
Precisely. The reviews we looked at really hammered this point home. You need the style, the intensity level, how long the sessions are, how many times a week. All of it. Without that detail, you just get these conflicting results that are hard to make sense of.
Which leads us, I guess, to the big headline finding, which might be a bit underwhelming for some folks.
Yeah, it's important to state this up front. When you look specifically at people who already have MCI or early dementia, the evidence for Tai Chi improving neurocognitive outcomes, well, it's generally labeled inconclusive. Or inconsistent. That word comes up a lot.
Inconsistent. Okay, So not a clear home run for boosting thinking skills in this group. If we look at, say, global cognition, like overall memory and thinking measured by tests like the MMSE or MoCA.
Exactly that, a mixed bag. Some big meta-analyses did find that Tai Chi groups improved more than control groups, the groups doing just stretching or getting health education.
Okay, so some positive signs there.
But other equally large, well-conducted meta-analyses found basically nothing. No statistically significant difference between the Tai Chi group and the control group on those global scores.
Huh. So real disagreement in the literature. What about more specific cognitive areas like attention or executive function?
Same story, really. Executive function, those skills for managing information, focusing, planning, mental tracking. These are things Tai Chi should theoretically train because the movements are complex and require focus. And while some individual studies hinted at improvements, maybe in processing speed or certain memory tasks, again, when you pull the data, the differences often weren't statistically significant compared to controls, just not strong enough evidence.
Right. But you mentioned one interesting point earlier, a study looking only at people already diagnosed with dementia.
Yes, that was a key contrast. One meta-analysis zeroed in just on PWD persons with dementia, and that analysis did find Tai Chi significantly improved their overall cognitive function.
Interesting.
But weirdly, in that same analysis, it didn't seem to improve their physical function, like balance or their mood, which is kind of the opposite of what you might expect sometimes.
That is strange. It really suggests the effects might be super specific, maybe depending on exactly who is doing it or how advanced their condition is.
Exactly, and it ties into this idea of task specificity that came up. When there was positive cognitive evidence, it tended to lean towards tasks heavily reliant on that executive function. Things like the trail making test B, where you have to switch between numbers and letters, or remembering digits backward, tasks that really demand concentration and mental juggling.
So it's less like a general memory boost and more like a workout for specific attention and control networks in the brain.
That seems to be what the limited cognitive data suggests, yeah. The act of learning and performing those mindful, complex sequences might be the key cognitive element.
Okay, but let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
Because if the cognitive results are inconsistent, the story seems to change quite a lot when we look at physical health and psychological well-being, right?
Massively. This is where the evidence gets much stronger and much more consistent across studies. Even if Tai Chi did nothing for cognition, which we're not saying it does nothing, just that the evidence is mixed, the physical benefits are really compelling.
So what stands out there?
Two main things, really consistently. First, pain reduction. Several studies, including good RCTs, found Tai Chi significantly reduced pain scores, improved physical function, and cut down stiffness. This was especially noted in older adults who had both cognitive issues and knee osteoarthritis.
That's a big deal for quality of life.
Huge. And the second major area is balance and falls. This came up again and again. Tai Chi significantly improved balance, measured objectively with things like the Berg Balance Scale, and crucially, it also reduced the risk of falling, and importantly, the fear of moving or falling. That fear can be really debilitating, leading to less activity and more decline.
Yeah, breaking that cycle of fear and immobility is vital. So better balance, fewer falls, less pain. Those are solid wins. What about the psychological side? Mood, depression?
Generally positive results there too, although again, maybe slightly less consistent than the physical ones. One meta-analysis didn't find a significant difference in depressive symptoms between groups, but a specific, well-designed RCT showed really impressive results. Depressive symptoms dropped by nearly 49%, actually in the Tai Chi group compared to controls. That's substantial.
Wow, 49%. That single study result is powerful, even if the overall picture is a bit mixed.
Exactly. And then there's maybe the most intriguing finding related to the disease process itself. One significant year-long RCT found that Tai Chi was actually better than stretching and toning exercises at slowing the overall progression of dementia.
Slowing the progression, that's huge.
It is, especially in people with amnestic MCI, the type most associated with memory loss leading to Alzheimer's. And this ties into potential biological changes. Another study found that Tai Chi practice significantly increased levels of something called plasma brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF.
BDNF, that's like brain fertilizer, right? Important for growing new connections.
That's a great way to put it. BDNF is critical for neuroplasticity, for brain cells surviving, growing, and forming new connections. So seeing an increase is biologically very promising.
Okay, so we have these hints, slowing progression, increasing BDNF. It really makes you ask, how is Tai Chi doing this? What's happening in the brain? But there's a problem with answering that directly in this population, isn't there?
There is, and it's a big one. The researchers reviewing all this literature found, well, basically no studies using brain imaging like fMRI or MRI to look at the underlying neuronal mechanisms specifically in people with MCI or early dementia.
Zero. Really?
Zero identified in the reviews we looked at focusing on this specific group. So to understand the how, researchers had to kind of look sideways. They looked at studies done on healthy older adults practicing Tai Chi.
Ah, okay. So we're inferring mechanisms based on healthy brains, not the brains of people with impairments or limitation, but still, what did they find in those healthy older adults? What were the clues?
It's definitely inferential, but it's where things get really interesting regarding neuroplasticity. They found three main patterns. First, increased brain activity. Practicing Tai Chi was linked to more activity in key brain regions, especially those involved in cognitive control thinking, planning mainly in the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain.
Okay, more activity in control centers. What else?
Second, enhanced functional connectivity. This means different brain regions were communicating more effectively. Specifically, they saw stronger connections, even at rest, between the hippocampus, that crucial memory hub, and the prefrontal cortex we just mentioned. They were talking to each other better.
Better communication between memory and control areas.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And the third finding?
Third was actual structural changes. Long-term Tai Chi practice was associated with greater gray matter volume, basically, more brain tissue in regions like the hippocampus and other nearby temporal lobe areas critical for memory.
Wow, so actual physical changes in brain structure linked to the practice.
In healthy older adults, yes. So the thinking is, the intense focus and attention required during Tai Chi learning sequences, coordinating movement, mindfulness, this seems to strengthen those frontal control networks. And the strengthening might improve how memory processes work and lead to these observable neuroplastic changes, the increased activity, connectivity, and volume. That's the hypothesis, extrapolated to the MCI dementia context.
Okay, that paints a much fuller picture. Even with the inconsistent direct cognitive test results for MCI dementia, you have strong physical benefits, good psychological indicators, and these plausible brain mechanism clues from healthy folks. So boiling it down for you listening, maybe you or a loved one has MCI or you're just concerned about brain health.
Yeah.
What's the practical takeaway from the successful studies? What kind of Tai Chi program should someone look for?
Right, the practical advice. Based on the studies that did show benefits, whether physical, psychological, or the hints of slowing progression, there are some common factors. You generally want an intervention that lasts at least 12 weeks. That seems to be a minimum threshold. And the frequency should be around 2 to 3 sessions per week, with each session lasting somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes. That seems to be the dose associated with positive outcomes in these studies.
Okay, 12 weeks minimum, 2-3 times a week, 30, 60 minutes a session. That's concrete. And looking forward, what do researchers need to do to clear up this picture, especially on the cognitive side?
Well, the reviews highlighted several key things. We definitely need more high-quality randomized controlled trials focused only on people with MCI or early dementia. We need to stop lumping different cognitive levels together or relying solely on inferences from healthy people.
Better focus on the target population.
Exactly. And we need that better reporting we talked about earlier, researchers to detail the Tai Chi style, intensity, how it progressed, everything. That's crucial for reducing the inconsistency across studies.
Standardize the reporting. Makes sense.
And critically, we need those direct mechanistic studies. Researchers need to actually use fMRI, MRI, maybe PET scans on people with MCI and dementia who are doing Tai Chi to see if those brain changes, the activity, the connectivity, the structure are actually happening in this population. We need direct proof.
Right. Move beyond inference to direct observation in the group that matters most.
Yeah. And one last point, even without definitive cognitive proof yet, Tai Chi is known to positively affect things like depression, cardiovascular risk factors, sleep quality, and all of those are known mediators of cognition. Better heart health, better mood, better sleep. They all help the brain, so even indirectly, it supports exploring Tai Chi further.
That's a great point. So let's wrap this up. We started asking if Tai Chi can help fight cognitive decline in MCI and early dementia. We found a somewhat complex answer. The evidence for direct cognitive improvement is frankly inconsistent right now. But we found pretty strong evidence for real benefits in physical function, especially balance and pain and for mental health, like reducing depressive symptoms. Plus, those intriguing biological hints about BDNF and maybe even slowing dementia progression in some cases.
And we explored the why, looking at how Tai Chi might be changing brain activity, connectivity, and even structure based on studies in healthy, older adults. Which leads to a final thought. We know from animal research, actually, that combining cognitive challenges with physical activity seems to be better for the brain than doing either one alone. And Tai Chi, almost by definition, blends focused concentration, learning, mindfulness with physical movement. So maybe we shouldn't just think of it as exercise. Should we perhaps view it as a kind of unique dual-purpose intervention, one that's training the brain mentally and physically at the same time? Does that integrated approach give it an edge over activities that are less mentally engaging, like just walking?
That really reframes it, doesn't it? Not just movement, but mindful movement with cognitive load. It certainly makes you think about the potential power of these integrated mind-body practices. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the science behind Tai Chi and cognitive health. We hope this gives you a clearer picture and perhaps some new avenues to consider.